The Best Man in 1999. And in 2000, he co-starred with comedian Martin Lawrence in the hit film Big Mama's House. And in 2001, he starred with Jennifer Lopez in the film Angel Eyes. Other major roles followed, such as Hearts of War in 2002.
We served our country, sir. Archer and I.
Biker Boys in 2003. And Ray, featuring Jamie Foxx in 2004.
I guess you're watching out for me. Is that why you get paid double what I do?
Who told you that?
Well, it's true, ain't it? You and Marlene have been gaming me since I got here.
Ray, baby, listen.
Got to listen to you.
A self-taught musician, Howard plays both the piano and the guitar. You can see Terrence's music talents opposite Jamie Foxx and the breakout film Ray in 2004. A promising songwriter, Howard's lyrics were soon to be acquired by some of today's top and biggest artists. Howard's reputation as a respected actor was now confirmed, and he began to receive even more lucrative roles. In 2004, he co-starred with several of Hollywood's top stars, such as Sandra Bullock, Don Cheadle, Thandie Newton, Matt Dillon, and Ryan Phillip, Jennifer Esposito, Michael Pena, Brendan Fraser, Ludacris, in the film Crash.
Honey, stay inside. Man, don't walk up on me. I know this man. Get back.
The film and the performance of the cast was critically acclaimed, and the cast won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performances by a Cast in a Motion Picture.
And the Oscar goes to Crash.
The film itself received 6 Academy Award nominations, of which it won 3, and numerous other awards and nominations. He followed up with Hustle and Flow in 2005, for which he was nominated for Oscar, Screen Actors Guild, and Golden Globe Awards. He also sang all of his own songs for the soundtrack of the film, and the song was It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp, which won the Academy Award for Best Original Song.
Feel that.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp.
Howard also starred in the Marvel hit Iron Man alongside Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow in 2008.
Next time, baby.
In 2008, Howard also made his Broadway debut in an African-American production of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He also released the first studio album titled Shine Through It, which is a mix of R&B and soul and pop. In 2011, he played the role of Nelson Mandela in the film Winnie.
The sentence is life imprisonment.
He also appeared in the prominent television show Law & Order LA, and also Law & Order Special Victims Unit.
Who are you?
Deputy DA, Los Angeles.
Law & Order LA's Terrence Howard comes to town.
So today, folks, I want you to welcome Terrence Howard, Quantum Minds on the Forbidden Knowledge TV network. Okay, so Terrence, finally, man, we're sitting here in person. Welcome to the show.
I think this is in person. Thank you, brother, for having me here.
A lot better than Instagram cell phones.
Yeah, that was not good. My backyard is not really cooperative with
But you know what? I appreciate you sticking it out for over an hour and a half with the mosquitoes in the heat. I mean, you kept moving around to get away from the bugs, and you came through, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that was hard because my wife, she was like, "What are you doing?" She's my manager.
Yeah.
So she always wants to run through the business side of it, and I was like, "This is outside of our business."
Right.
With what we're doing, I had to sneak to do that interview.
You got to the back. Listen, man, I appreciate it. But you know what? With as crazy as it was with the connection and the bugs and everything else and the heat, the people got a lot of knowledge out of it. People really resonated with that. Yeah.
They really seem to enjoy just the the back and forth and the honesty.
Yeah.
You know, we both are coming from the same kind of place. I mean,
Right.
I try everything I can to be a man of integrity.
Yeah.
You know, I only hang out with people that have integrity. Like I used to have friends before, and they would cheat on their wives. And I'm like, how can I be a friend with you? How can I expect you to have any fidelity
Right.
with our friendship when you stood in a room in a church in front of your family and her family, all your ancestors from the past, and all that you will come to be, and you promise to do something, and then you break that, and you think I'm going to be a friend. No,
Man.
we don't do that.
We have
don't
the same mindset, brother, because, you know, I would meet people at different places where I knew there was going to be a lot of women business meetings. I would meet them like at the Ritz-Carlton on the patio on Fort Lauderdale Beach, and I'd be paying attention. Can they hold this conversation? Can we keep this conversation going? Can we work on what we're working on without your neck being broken in every direction, trying to catch every woman walking by in a bikini? And if they can't keep attention, if they're focused on the women more than the meeting, then I realize I can't do business with that person.
No, integrity and bad association, like the Bible says, spoils the most useful of habits. And it took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
But we have to clean our associations. We have to clean our mindsets and our goals.
Yeah.
You know, you can't make it to the promised land holding on to the hand of someone who's headed in the opposite direction.
Correct. Everybody's not going to go with you.
No.
That's just a fact. And so speaking of that, I mean, were you ever into religion? And if so, how did that encourage you to explore science and invention?
Well, my mother raised us as, you know, Baptist, Methodist, that whole Christendom aspect of it. We believed every part of that. My father, when he went to prison when I was 3, when he came back out, he was a Muslim. So he taught us Islam, and we became Muslims. You know, I have an Islamic name, Suleiman.
Wow.
And that desire to worship the one true God, that what he instilled in us. But there was something that happened when I'm like 13. There was a young brother named Yaqub, you know, used to wear his dashiki, was really cool with my dad, had this great skunk-like, musk-like cologne on, and he was a man of integrity. But then one day I come home and there's a bunch of my father's friends around, all Muslims, and they're all talking in the living room. And I asked what had happened, and they said that Yaqub was in prison, was in jail because he had apparently cut off some man's genitals who had urinated on the masjid.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm like, this is a child of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't care what my son does.
Right.
I would much rather you come and tell me than don't mutilate my child out of thinking you're respecting me. Don't kill your brother in this way, even if he doesn't know that he's your brother yet. So I began to question that. And then I questioned the idea of equanimity and justice. You know, how can just God burn someone forever? This is going back to the Bible.
Yeah.
For something that they have done, even if it was heinous, for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. There's no way I could burn my child that went wayward forever and torment them forever, calling myself a loving God. So then I had to look at the doctrine and where it was leading me to and what was the necessity of it. And you have to look behind the curtain. You have to ask the hard questions. And yeah, that had a lot to do with me looking for truth. And the Bible did say something that impressed me. It said that God was suspending the circle of the earth above nothing at all. And this is at a time when everyone considered the earth to be flat.
Right. And you're going back now.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
And I'm like, wow, he's suspending. How would they know that he's suspending the circle of the earth above? And then there was another point in Job, it says, where God was four angels are at the four corners of the earth, holding back the winds. And I'm like, how does a sphere have four corners? So that ignited a desire towards geometry and understanding it. And that's what the all shape ultimately was, those four corners, that discovery. And all that came from Walter Russell and him speaking about the doubling sequence in the 1, the 2, the 4, the 8, the 16, that process. But the necessity, in order for anything to be measurable, it had to have 4 equal and opposite or measurable dimensions.
Yeah, exactly.
The government's plan for a digital dollar isn't just theory anymore. With this year's rollout of crypto ETFs, the rise of the digital dollar may be upon us.
That blew my mind because it was no longer this 3 that we've been hit with. It was this 4. And when I started applying that, all the other things opened up.
Just unfolded.
So the Bible did play a part with that. My father's desire to seek truth had a big part in that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that you mentioned before on a few podcasts that, your journey in quantum physics really began with yourself.
Yeah.
And how does one begin? And I'm in the same boat as you, obviously, but I want other people to hear, like, what was your journey in learning quantum physics?
Well, you hear these stories about Einstein or these great inventors or physicists, but then the information and the theories that they present are contradictory to each other. And I was like, how are these things making any kind of progress or attempting to assist progress into advancing any math or any technology if they are all in conflict? And I kept waiting. I thought by the time I got 30 or 40, all of these, whether string theory was real or not, it would be proven, or whether relativity was real or not. I was like, Einstein never received a Nobel Prize except for his work on the photoelectric effect, and that was Max Planck's work that he was just verifying. But Einstein didn't get none of his stuff really came to full fruition. But he's still considered as this prop placed up by science. But I couldn't get any understanding from that. So I started looking into the people that were questioning, that were enemies of Einstein's ideas, in a sense.
Of his concepts,
so I went into Lorentz, who in 1905, who had his own idea regarding the electron and the superpositioning of models of how everything behaved. But his stuff was based off of Maxwell's work, and Maxwell's work was based off of an ether. Everyone believed that there was this subspace ether, this fabric of space. And so I looked into their work and John Keely's work and Victor Schauberger's work.
His work is incredible. I mean, I remember doing an episode in Deep Space, a TV series I did years and years ago, and I had to study Victor Schauberger, and just like blew my mind.
That he was so conscious.
Oh my goodness.
And passionate about, you're killing the forest. This forest is dead. You've killed the water. How in the world do you kill the water?
Right.
Dr. Yamamoto didn't come out with that until what, the 80s?
The 80s, yeah.
And Victor Schauberger had been talking about that since the late 1800s, the living water.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time. For sure.
So those were influences that led, but I had to go in search of that. I went to school for chemical engineering, or applied for electrical engineering, but I was looking at the antiquated ways in which they were dealing with the universe, or their approach to it, and asking questions, and they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer. It was not sufficient for 96% of the universe to be unknown.
Unknown, dark matter, dark energy, which is still unknown.
Unknown.
Yeah.
Unknown, unknowable. And the 4% that they have out there, the speed of light, that's not a true constant in it, because light changes its speed depending on the medium it goes through. That's like having the speed of the human race. Black people are going to run differently than white people, than Asians. Everything is going to change. It's a conditional fact.
Yeah.
You're going to change according to the conditions, and light adjusts depending on the conditions. So a lot of those things I saw as unrealities, and I couldn't rely on them.
Gotcha.
So that was me. What about you?
Well, me, it was really interesting. I loved science when I was in school, science and chemistry. I was really good at it, but I didn't have a thirst for it until around 2010. So around 2010,
how old were you then?
39 years old, and I had already been studying aerospace technology for years. I studied aerospace technology since 1977. In 1977, I saw something in my backyard that I perceived to not be an airplane. I didn't know about UFOs. I didn't know about aliens or flying saucers. I just knew what I saw was an orb, a little bit longer, elongated than an egg, glowing metal, and it moved across the horizon in seconds, not minutes. It didn't have a cockpit, didn't have wings, didn't have windows on it or anything. And it came back and stopped completely silent, and it just disappeared again. I ran in the house and told my mom, and she was like, there was advanced beings in the ancient past. And she told me about Machu Picchu. She said they used to live on tops of big mountains. And that was in 77. Fast forward, that gave me a quench and a thirst for technology, just understanding aerospace, swept wing, delta wing, ballistics, and everything else. I studied all that stuff for years. Didn't get really deep into the science other than basic high school science. But in 2010, when I was 39, something really changed. I had an experience, a very strange experience at my house with, I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I talked about it on a few podcasts before. I felt like an otherworldly experience that I had. But after that experience happened, something happened to me with science at a deeper level into quantum physics. And I really started deep diving into physics. A lot of the same people you mentioned, I was researching them, studying them heavily. I actually went to Khan University, KN. It used to be free, but now you have to pay, I think, a minimum like 10, 15 bucks a month or something like that right now online, an online university for quantum physics. So I went there online, started taking those courses, and I was able to understand all this information. And it was so incredible. I just kept diving deeper. And then I opened up a Facebook group for quantum physics on Facebook, and it grew to like 139, 140,000 students. And I would help them answer questions in there and so forth, over time. And so that's really how I got into quantum physics. I just really developed this thirst for it. And I'm only talking about that incident that happened because it didn't happen until after the incident. Something triggered something or sparked something in me that made me dive into it. And then I was able to see the connection between the science and spirituality. And I realized that the quantum physics is really explaining what's happening on the spiritual realm. In other words, the quantum physics is the breakdown and understanding of spiritual energy and what's really happening when you're meditating, when you're focusing on things, when you're trying to manifest reality. All those things are really explained through quantum physics.
Yeah, well, it's you're that observer or the spooky
spooky action at a distance. Yeah,
spooky action at a distance. Your observation of it, it affects things. Things aren't just, you're not just perceiving it. It has, when you put your finger in the water, the entire ocean has to register that change of motion and condition.
Yes.
It has to be understood on some level. So us gaining information by what's been laid out in front of us, presented before us, most of that is speculation. Because like I was saying before, all of those things, all of that 4% of the universe, they've received Nobel Prizes and all of that for it, but they haven't produced anything that's changing the world or the conditions or making the world a better place. So it still looks like Solomon said, you're chasing after the wind. And when you start questioning these things and going back into meditating, going back, like when I tell people that a lot of this stuff came to me, like you, after having that experience and seeing that aviation phenomenon, it made you question and look into things. Well, likewise, having that dream when I was 4 or 5 years old and being reminded that I was someplace before here, and seeing all those geometries and wondering, why had I never seen those in school?
Right.
And looking for them in school. So I started looking in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and that's where you get the Platonic solids. But then you have to start what we're afraid to do, is question what happened before the Big Bang.
Right.
I haven't been able to take my eyes off my husband's pants since he tried this morning trick. What happened afterward was unbelievable.
I thought it would be just another quickie, but my husband went hard on me for 2 straight hours after trying a simple secret mixture. It might sound strange, but your wife or girlfriend will thank you for watching this video. Go to your kitchen, make this mixture, and try this.
Yeah, but I'm gonna like this, man. This is new. Let's see what I got here.